Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Investment Advisory Committee for December 10th. The voting members of this committee are myself, Councillors Bosch, Councillor Blackmore, and of course, Her Worship Mayor Clayton. Could I have a motion to adopt the agenda? Councillor Bosch, all in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. We have no delegations, so I'll turn over to Chief Tarrant for the service area update.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. In Legislative and Executive Services, Board and Committee public member recruitment has closed now with 49 applications received. Council will review prior to consideration for appointment at the December 16th meeting. We are currently finalizing nomination packages for the municipal election, with January 2nd being the first day to receive nomination papers from candidates. We have been very busy in the last couple months with many grant submissions. There's been a lot of grant deadlines in the last few weeks, and so we'll go over that a little bit in more detail at the CCW in a little bit here. In corporate communications and marketing, the recent RCMP engagement session was very well attended, as well as the online submissions. We received over 750 responses regarding the RCMP engagement, and results will be provided to Council early in the new year. We've completed the promotion for the keynote speaker application period for the 2025 Women of Influence Awards. It was a very successful application. We received 39 different applicants, and so the committee is currently going through those and seeking out who will be the keynote speaker for next year's awards, next year's awards. Promotions have begun for the city's New Year's evening out. The event takes place December 31st in Mescassepe Park. Some updates on some of the sponsorships we've received in the city. TC Energy has confirmed sponsorship of the ice sculpting competition for the Grand North Winter Festival, so it's a $5,000 sponsorship. The office in Pomeroy has confirmed sponsorship at the Snow Maze. Again, that's a $7,500 sponsorship. Aquaterra Utilities has renewed their multi-arena advertising partnership for 2025 in the amount of $5,500. And we are going to be implementing some new Pepsi branding in the picnic area in Eastlink Center Aquatics, making it more a vibrant and welcoming space. And that was a $5,000 sponsorship. Invest Grande Prairie for rural renewal. Community Partnership has approved 12 employer applications. 13 applications are currently under review, and 18 candidates were endorsed, with 5 additional endorsement requests currently under review. The City of Grande Prairie and Invest Grande Prairie team were pleased to join the Grande Prairie Regional Hospital Foundation in hosting the hospital's 3rd anniversary celebration. We had many opportunities for meaningful conversations regarding healthcare in our region, and we appreciate the care and dedication of the hospital staff as they continue to diligently serve our region. 20 new business licenses were issued in the month of November. 10 of those were commercial and 10 were home-based. And we were able to put out the monthly Invest GP newsletter out last week. And with that concludes the report.
Thank you. Mayor Clayton.
Thanks, Chair Bressie. I just wanted to thank the Invest GP team. Most of my council colleagues were at that event, and it was great to celebrate the 3rd anniversary of our regional hospital. Thanks.
Is there anybody else? Not seeing anybody, so I'll hand it over to Acting Chief Tarrant to introduce the first report.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. So coming out of the last committee meeting, there was a motion from Council asking us to put together a draft council parental leave bylaw for discussion here at committee. We have our legislative services team has done that. They've looked at a couple other templates within the province and pulled a couple of the best practices together and put together this parental leave bylaw for your consideration. I'll turn that over to Director Hansen, who will give you a few more details.
Director Hansen.
Thank you, through the chair. So as mentioned, Committee had requested a draft bylaw be brought back for your consideration, and that's been presented before you. With a recommendation for the committee to recommend council give 3 readings to bylaw C1481, being the council parental leave bylaw. With that, under the Municipal Government Act, there is a requirement for the bylaw if this benefit is something council wishes to move forward, and outlining particular areas such as the terms, what the expectations are for the council member that would be on leave, and also for council members for providing coverage. In the report on page 2, there are key sections that have been pulled out for easy reference, and some of those are under section 5 of the bylaw. Parental leave indicates that the aspects of advising no earlier are that the parental leave would take place no earlier than 12 weeks prior to the estimated date of delivery or an adoption, and also that it would start no later than 12 weeks after the child's birth or the adoption of a child. The total duration in the bylaw has been proposed at not to exceed 16 consecutive weeks. And going on to section 6, terms of leave, there would be a formal agreement that would need to be signed, and that would be if council does pass this bylaw, then administration would take that back to prepare a formal agreement for use as needed. Under section 8, under remuneration, this section is another one that has been pulled out for your interest. During the parental leave, it's proposed that councillor would receive 55% of their base monthly salary, and that council members would continue to receive the benefits that they have currently as a council member during that same time period. If a councillor wishes to extend their leave, there is provision for that as well, to request that in the bylaw. If the leave is granted by council beyond the 16 consecutive weeks, no compensation will be provided for the extended period. And in addition, if there is an extension of the leave, then benefits would be covered by the council member personally. The last one under 8.3.1 is regarding the coverage for council duties, and with that, just to reflect that council members who are covering for the member on leave would receive no additional salary compensation for those duties. With that, the last reference to make prior to opening up for questions is just regarding the budgetary impacts. So with this particular provision, there are no increases to budget that are anticipated. However, because the 55% of base salary, there would be a slight decrease in the budget for the council member who is taking the leave. And with that, I'll open it up to questions.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Before I do, I just do want to thank administration for the quick turnaround on this. I know we're under the gun to get this done before people can nominate, so do appreciate how quickly this was done. So thank you for that. I know Councillor Blackmore had a question.
Thank you, Councillor Bressie. I have a little bit of confusion around the length of leave. So 5.2 says the total duration of parental leave may not exceed 16 weeks, and yet we have further down that if the parent in question wishes to extend the leave, there is a process. So to me, that's a little bit of a conflict, and I don't really know if you've written that into the bylaw. I'm sure that our legal opinions will deal with that, but it's a little bit of a gray area for me. I'm also wondering if we chose 16 weeks because it's a common amount of time, or how you came up with the 16 weeks as opposed to 12 months.
Thank you for that question, and through the chair. In the process of reviewing parental leave bylaws, we assessed multiple bylaws across the province, mostly mid-side and metro-size municipalities. With that, the ones that we looked at more extensively were Edmonton, Spruce Grove, and Sylvan Lake. The amount of time that council members were on leave varied considerably, from 12 weeks to 24 weeks. And for the proposal here, we looked at a midpoint period of time for council's consideration, and should you wish to change that, we could make those changes as well. With the question pertaining to the extension, the bylaws that we reviewed did have an allowance for council to hear a request for extension because of unknown circumstances that may occur. Could be health, it could be any number of things. And so the term is a set term in the bylaws that we reviewed, but the allowance for extension based on council approval was one that was also provided in case it was required.
Councillor Bosch.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. My question is, it's been a long time since I've had to use any of this, so I'm not remembering quite right, but is this in addition to the government dollars that someone receives when they're on parental leave, like unemployment, things like that?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair, the determination of whether someone would be eligible for unemployment insurance is outside of our jurisdiction. That is with Employment Canada. This would be separate as to this is what the City of Grande Prairie, should council approve this is what they would receive and continue to receive from the City of Grande Prairie.
Okay, and then I have a second question in regards to the allocated amount for professional development in a year. Is that reduced as well, or is that continue to be the same regardless if you take off 4 months?
Thank you for the question. Through the chair to Councillor Bosch, the professional development budget has not been addressed in this budget, and there may be a cost savings in that respect as well, depending on the time of when the member of council may be on leave because of the seasonal aspects of when some of those events occur. For the purpose of this bylaw, it's not referenced in there. It's more reflecting the remuneration aspect of it as opposed to any attendance at a particular event or a professional development.
I guess for me, I question, is this something we should look at as an entirety versus bits and pieces? So we're looking at enumeration here or time, but a council position involves, much more than a few council meetings that you're going to miss. The professional development piece, particularly when it's mandatory, I question if that should be involved in a policy or within the bylaw.
Thank you for the question. In the bylaws that we reviewed, the professional development element was not forming part of their bylaws. Again, I believe that because of the timing of some of the professional development, if a council member was on leave, council may see that as a time where they wouldn't typically be participating in professional development. However, if there's a conference that occurs 2 months after they're back, whether or not you want that to be reflected. We didn't see that in other bylaws.
Okay, thank you.
A question I had is, one of the MGA requirements is at our organizational meeting every year, every member of council has to be attendance to approve the calendar. Is that something where the MGA gives any exceptions for councillors that are on leave, or is that something where we would have to get this person if they were on leave to that organizational meeting if they were away during it?
Thank you for the question. That's a very good question. Not one that we addressed in this particular bylaw. The option of virtually attending could be there, or I guess it would have to be, could be addressed at that time as to the best mechanism to use in order to do that.
I think it just might be something where it might be worth, if this gets forwarded to council, I'll probably ask that question again at council and wonder if we should if we're going to have to require that councillor to call in for that calendar meeting, then we should probably have that in this bylaw, that would be an expected duty regardless of what's going on. So I'll just ask that again when we get to council.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else with questions on this? Mayor Clayton.
Point, because there are other events and meetings that are mandatory. What if somebody was on leave during budget?
Yeah.
So it's something to consider. I mean, each could be done on an individual basis, but it'd be a significant impact to council if two people were on a leave during a budget conversation. So
yeah,
for consideration.
And I just raised that one particularly because it's the MGA won't let us pass that, where the MGA doesn't actually require councillors to be a budget. You're right, it's really difficult if councillors aren't, but there's not an MGA requirement for everybody to be at budget, so that's why I raised that one separately. Anybody else with any questions? Councillor Blackmore.
I would move that committee recommend council give 3 readings to bylaw C1481, being the council parental leave bylaw.
Great. That is definitely in order. Some discussion I'll give it is, I think, talking to some colleagues that there might be some good discussion on this at council, and I look forward to talking about what should change to be a council, but I think this gives us a really good starting place. And I know my personal opinion is I really strongly believe that we need to give the exemption on they have to be at a meeting in 8 weeks or else they're booted from council. But do we pay them while they're around, while they're not around or not? I think is a worthwhile debate that I think some might raise at council, but I think it's good to get this to council so we can have that debate. Any other discussion? And I will call it to question. And Councillor Bressie is in favor. That motion carries. And with that, I assume we're going straight back to Ms. Hanson, but just in case he's got some commentary, I'll hand it over to Chief Durant to introduce the next report.
Thank you, Chair Bressie, and I will just do a brief introduction here. So the changes presented are regarding Policy 100. You may recall that the previous committee meeting, some changes were made to Policy 100, and those were the changes that were going to be coming effect right away in the new year. The changes that are being presented today are the changes that will come into effect in October of 2025 with the new council. And so I'll let Director Hanson speak to those proposed changes.
Thank you. And Director Hanson.
Okay. Thank you. Through the chair. Chief Durant has covered this fairly well, and so this particular amendment would take effect after the election in October of 2025. It really aligns with the recommendations of the Independent Council Remuneration Review Committee that was brought forward in September. And the 2 elements are to do with, or 3 elements are to do with that the mayor's salary, would continue to be indexed at the Alberta Consumer Index rate, and that would be adjusted annually based on what that CPI rate is. The second element is that councillor salaries would be set at 55% of the mayor's salary on that annual basis. And the third one is to reflect a increase to the mileage allowance, with the allowance for the mayors going to $600 from $500 per month, and with the councillor rate going to 55% of the mayor vehicle allowance. So those are the changes that are being proposed based on the recommendations put forward by the committee, and again to take effect October of 2025.
Thank you. Any questions? No questions. Is anybody willing to do business? Councillor Blackmore.
I would move that committee recommend council approve Policy 100, being the council remuneration and expense reimbursement policy as presented, to be effective October 27th, 2025.
which is definitely in order. I'll call its question.
It's like a tongue twister.
That motion carries. Thank you again, Director Hansen. And with that, we're at our outstanding items list with Acting Chief Trent.
Thank you, Chair Bressie. With the motions that were made today, would recommend that the two items, item 1336 and 1334, be removed from the outstanding items list.
Chief Lemieux is excited to get down to one page. You're going to be empty. Some good chairing, I suppose. Is anybody willing to do that business? Councillor Bosch.
I move that committee receive the December 10th outstanding items list as amended for information.
Definitely in order. Call that to question. Councillor Bressie in favor. That motion carries. And with that, I will call this meeting adjourned. Thank you.